He's going to explain what's going to happen next, right?
Am I being arrested?
You are being arrested.
I am being arrested.
Causing a breach of peace.
I've caused
I've
caused a breach of peace. I'm being arrested.
But the content of what you're
Can we just say
streaming.
The content of what I'm streaming, I'm being arrested for breach of the peace. I'm being arrested for breach of the peace. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. Can you get me a solicitor? Can you get me a solicitor?
Can you just turn off your live
Can you
feed?
get me a solicitor?
Turn off your live feed, please.
Yeah?
Do you understand what I've just said to you?
No, can you explain it again?
You're under arrest on suspicion of causing a breach of the peace.
What does that mean? What does that mean, officer? What does that mean, officer?
The UK tosses political dissidents into prison and then bans the media from reporting it. That's the real story, and it doesn't matter what your personal thoughts on the man are, and that man being Tommy Robinson. I'm sure most of you have already heard about the arrest and the 13-month custodial sentence handed down to the former leader of the English Defence League. For those of you not in the know, Mr. Robinson was outside the Leeds Crown Court live streaming on the sentencing phase of 9 men for what is euphemistically called grooming children in the UK. What it is, however, is in fact a veritable industry, and the organized sexual plundering of white children on that troubled and increasingly dystopian island is just the latest indignity in a long line of indignities that must be celebrated in the name of diversity. The reason given by the state is that Tommy irresponsibly risked letting the trial collapse through a breach of peace outside the court. But this takedown and silencing of Mr. Robinson looks very much like an orchestrated event. The police knew that he was on a suspended sentence, and that's why he was arrested out of the blue without anyone having even called the police. It was planned, most likely planned for quite a while. Any arrest for any reason is a breach of the terms of a suspended sentence and thus prison time. They don't have to prove that the arrest was valid, and it doesn't matter as to the circumstances. As said, this looks to have been heavily organized, and they had everything ready. It must have been planned in advance, and they were waiting for Tommy's next public appearance. They view him as a threat to such an extent that once again, Mr. Robinson is for all intents and purposes a political prisoner for speech that shines a light on the consequences and the fruits of decades of vibrant enrichment. Something also to consider is that in the UK, police have protected organized rings of Muslim child rapists for years. Let that sink in. Traitor is now being shouted by many at the police force that in many instances protected and helped perpetuate the organized gang rapes and in some instances murder of countless children for fear of being called racists, and is now working as an instrument of the state to silence any and all dissent. The police, it would seem, is now being used to enforce draconian socialism to the very end. With speech laws becoming ever more pervasive and broad, the window for peaceful solutions to the social problems that have been imported by the political class is closing. The more the establishment censor him, the more people they are awakening. People are rightfully angry about immigrants sexually plundering children up and down the country, and now they see to even talk about it is to risk imprisonment. For a long time, upper and middle class champagne socialists have, confident in their smugness, dismissed Tommy as a racist. Therefore, they think it's okay for the government to deploy suppressing tactics that would make communist China blush, and that, of course, he has bad thoughts, so he deserves it, and that these kinds of powers, these kinds of curtailments of speech would never be used on them. Thing is, for a lot of self-proclaimed liberals, many are beginning to realize that the left has grown rather illiberal. If you're interested in things like liberty and freedom, the rabid left has no place for you, and the rational left has all but evaporated. The thing is, this clampdown on freedom and speech is not specific to Britain, but is prevalent in all of the Western world. It's only to different degrees of bad to worse. And what makes Tommy Robinson a hero to many is that he's not afraid to stand up for what he believes in. He takes action even though he might face severe repercussions. He has continually put his life and finances in jeopardy to expose the cancer eating away at his country. He has been repeatedly jailed and attempts have been made on his life, but he still perseveres. And he is, by definition, a patriot. In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act, and Tommy Robinson is willing to go to jail for his beliefs. People can try and find any number of reasons not to like him: his accent, the fact that he's working class, a Zionist, a football hooligan. But if the country had a football stadium filled with more men like Tommy Robinson, one thing is for sure: there would be no organized gangs roving the streets of the UK and raping and murdering little girls. Tommy Robinson is inspiring the people in the UK via his actions, and should he be murdered by an Asian or Muslim gang in prison, he will then be the martyr that might finally awaken the British from their slumber, and then the country will truly burn. Free Tommy. Thanks for watching. In the description below are details on how to contact Tommy if you wish to send messages of support, money, for postage stamps, food, toiletries, and other miscellaneous items, as well as if you wish to help Tommy fund his legal battles. You can do so by going to tommyrobinson.online/support. Details are in the description.